Welcome back to the channel, friends. Tonight I'm dimming the lights and diving into the darkness to share 3 genuinely scary true stories that happened to me. These aren't tales I've read in a book or heard from a friend of a friend. These are moments that have been burned into my memory, experiences that still send a shiver down my spine when I think about them. So lock your doors, check behind you, and get ready, because we're about to explore the moments when the line between our world and something else blurs. The first story happened on a night that was already unsettling. A powerful storm had knocked out the power in my entire neighborhood. The world outside was pitch black, save for the occasional flash of lightning that would momentarily illuminate the rain-streaked windows. Inside, my house was plunged into a deep, unfamiliar darkness, the kind that makes every little creak of the floorboards sound like a footstep. I was trying to navigate my way to the kitchen to find some candles, using only the faint light from my phone's screen to guide me. The hallway, usually a familiar and comforting space, now felt like a long, dark tunnel. As I was walking, a flash of lightning lit up the entire house for a split second. And in that brief, brilliant flash, I saw it. Standing at the far end of the hall was a figure. It was tall, unnaturally so, and completely featureless, just a solid, dark shadow, darker than the surrounding blackness. It was just standing there, motionless. My heart leaped into my throat. I told myself it was just a trick of the light, my eyes playing games with me in the dark. But then, as my eyes adjusted back to the gloom, I could still make out its silhouette. It started to move, didn't walk, it glided, slowly, silently toward me. There was no sound, no footsteps, just this inky black shape drifting closer and closer. I knew for a fact that I was completely alone in the house. My family was out of town. Panic seized me. I couldn't scream. My breath caught in my chest, loud and ragged in the suffocating silence. Scrambled backward, turned, and sprinted back to my bedroom, fumbling with the doorknob with trembling hands. I slammed the door shut and locked it, my back pressed hard against the wood as if I could hold back whatever was out there. I stood there for what felt like hours, listening, my heart pounding against my ribs like a drum. I didn't hear anything, no sound of the doorknob turning, no scratching. But the feeling of being watched, of something standing just on the other side of that door, was overwhelming. I didn't sleep a wink that night. I just sat on my bed, staring at the door, waiting for the sun to rise. The power came back on the next morning, but the memory of that tall, dark shadow in my hallway has never left. The second incident happened a few months later. It was a normal weeknight, late, probably around 2 in the morning. I was in bed, scrolling through my phone, trying to wind down. The house was quiet, the kind of deep, peaceful quiet that settles in when everyone else is asleep, or so I thought. Suddenly, I heard a sound that made me freeze. It was a voice, a soft whisper, and it was calling my name. It seemed to be coming from the direction of the hallway, near the bathroom. At first, I thought it was my sister. We often stay up late, and maybe she had come home without me realizing it. I called out her name, but there was no answer. The silence returned, thicker than before. I waited, listening intently. A few seconds later, I heard it again, a little clearer this time. My name whispered softly, almost like a sigh. It was definitely coming from the bathroom. Annoyed, but also a little uneasy, I got out of bed. The floor was cold under my bare feet as I walked into the dark hallway. "Hello?" I called out, my voice sounding a little shaky. Is someone there? As I got closer to the bathroom, a cold draft seemed to wash over me. The door was slightly ajar. I reached out to push it open, but before my hand could even touch the wood, it started to move on its own. It didn't swing open quickly. It opened slowly, deliberately, with a soft drawn-out creak that echoed through the silent house. I stood there, rooted to the spot, my eyes wide as I stared into the pitch-black darkness of the bathroom. Every rational thought in my head was screaming that this wasn't possible, that it was just the wind or the house settling. But there were no windows open, there was no breeze, and the way the door moved. It felt intentional. I felt a wave of pure, cold terror wash over me. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. I was just frozen, staring into that black void, expecting something to step out. After a moment that felt like an eternity, I snapped out of it, stumbled backward, and ran back to my room, slamming the door shut. I never found out what was in the bathroom that night, because I was too scared to ever look. I just know that someone, or something, called my name and opened that door for me. The final story is perhaps the most personal and unsettling for me. This happened just a few months ago. I was sitting in my room, in my usual spot at my desk. It was late afternoon, the sun was starting to set, casting long shadows across my floor. I was on my computer, headphones on, completely absorbed in a video I was watching. The house was quiet. I was alone again, enjoying the peace. That's when I felt it. A distinct, unmistakable sensation. It was the feeling of warm breath on the back of my neck. It was so close, so real that I actually flinched. My first thought was that my brother had snuck up on me to play a prank. I whipped my headphones off, ready to tell him off. But as I spun around in my chair, there was no one there. The room was empty. The air was still. I sat there for a second, confused. Maybe I had imagined it. Maybe it was just a draft. But it felt so human. It felt exactly like someone leaning over my shoulder, their face just inches from mine. I tried to shake it off and turn back to my computer, but the feeling of unease wouldn't go away. I felt like I was being watched. My skin was crawling. I looked around the room again, my eyes scanning every corner, every shadow. Nothing. Everything was exactly as it should be. Then I noticed something that made my blood run cold. My desk chair, a heavy office chair on wheels, had moved. It had rolled back just a few inches, as if someone who had been sitting on the edge of it had just stood up. I hadn't moved it. I had been sitting perfectly still, so there is no logical explanation for how that chair moved on its own. The feeling of breath on my neck, combined with the movement of the chair, it was as if someone had been sitting right there with me, watching over my shoulder the entire time, and I had only noticed them when they decided to leave. I can't explain these experiences. They were terrifying, and they still give me chills whenever I replay them in my mind. The shadow in the hall, the voice from the bathroom, the presence in my chair, they are moments I will truly never, ever forget. Thank you so much for listening to my stories tonight. Feels good to share them, even if it brings back those scary feelings. If you've ever experienced anything like this, I'd love to hear about it in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video and want to hear more strange and chilling tales, please make sure to hit that like button, follow the channel, and subscribe for more content. Stay safe out there, and thanks for watching.